Hello there. In this video I'm looking at Shatterpoint stat cards. Hello AOS fans, Robin here on a chilly UK morning. It's snowing outside the studio just over there, very exciting, doesn't happen around here very often. This week AMG dropped a new transmission about Star Wars Shatterpoint, and it concerned the stat cards. For those of you also this week I heard possibly one of the best Star Wars jokes I've ever heard, and I'll tell you the beginning of it now, and then to make you listen all the way to the end I'll tell you the punchline at the end. So the question is, why didn't Princess Leia email Obi-Wan the Death Star plans? So we were treated to old grumpy teenager himself, Anakin Skywalker. They showed us a stat card image of him, and all units are going to be given by stat cards. This is no great surprise to us. That's how MCP works. They do love their stat cards at AMG, so we kind of knew that would happen. It's got lots of the same information, so obviously we've got like the name of the character, there's tags and the type and the points cost, which we've seen before in previous transmissions, and it's also going to show any unit special abilities it's got, and how many hit points it has. Except they don't call them hit points, they call it stamina and durability. And essentially this is going to work a little like the situation in Marvel Crisis Protocol, where you've got two sides of the cards, and once they get, I can't remember what the terminology, I don't think it is called knocked out, but they get, I would say staggered, but that's in Warhammer Underworld's term. But they basically, when you lose all your hit points the first time, you flip the card, you have a slightly different card version, and then when you lose all your hit points again, the fighter is completely dead. In this case, you've got stamina. Anakin's stamina is 11, and durability, and his durability is 3. When you take damage, you lose it off your stamina score, so you go down from 11 all the way down to 0. When you get to 0, you lose a point of durability. When you've lost your durability 3 times, I think you're knocked out, you're dead. When your durability is reduced to 0, I think that's the point at which you'll be removed from the table. However, as your durability decreases, so the first time you lose your 11 wounds, your durability goes down to 2, and then next time down to 1. Each time that happens, things get a little bit more tricky for you. Any force powers that you have cost more force points to use, so they go up by 1 each time you lose a durability. So if we look on Anakin's card, he's got an ability called I'm Going to End This, which has got 2 little symbols after it there, the number of force points it uses. So if he's lost a point of durability, then that will cost 3. His force jump ability will cost 2, and deflect is another ability. We're going to go on to abilities in a second, but deflect is another ability. It's normally free, you can normally do it all the time, but it would actually cost him 1 force point to do it after he's lost a point of durability. So what are the types of abilities? Well, there was a big graphic, which I'll flash it up now for you to look at, but go and look at the transmission itself to have a good read of it. I'm passing it down. There's basically 5 types of ability. You've got an active ability. They can be used anytime. If you have action by it, you have to use it as one of your actions. Remember from last week there were 2 actions, so it has to be one of your actions that you can use. So it's got a bit more of a cost in that way. It's got a sort of activation cost, penalty to using it. Active abilities will always have a force cost. I don't know if that force cost can be 0. We'll see in the case of his reactive ability deflect, it's 0. I think it might be, and then it runs into this thing later. If you take damage, then you will actually increase the cost from 0 up to 1. Reactive abilities, they're used in response to another event. Reactive abilities always have a force cost. Only 1 reactive ability can be used per triggering event, and that is a bit like Warhammer Underworld. You can only react to once to one thing. They have innate abilities. Innate abilities are always in effect, and they never have a force cost. In addition, some innate abilities might be defined as a tactic or identity ability. Tactic abilities are innate abilities that allow units to work together, and this is where we're going to see keywords coming in. So we might have Mandalorian types that can allow other Mandalorian units to move. Their effects are resolved at the start of a unit activation. Identity abilities, I guess they are the things that are actually kind of personal to the Jedi/unit in question. They're unique to primary units. How they're triggered is dependent on the ability, so you're going to get some text that explains how they're triggered. And I guess this is going to be a lot of where the cool stuff happens. A lot of the personalisation of each miniature and each primary unit is going to be in there. You can see Anakin has an identity ability is called This Is Where the Fun Begins. When a character in this unit wounds an enemy primary unit or an enemy secondary unit, after the effect is resolved, move the struggle token one space towards your momentum token. So if you remember this, you've got to get the struggle token all the way to your momentum tokens to win the struggle. That Anakin's going to help you with that, and that is an identity ability that it happens all the time. If the wounded unit is a primary unit, each allied unit, each Galactic Republic units, again, rewarding you for some synergy between your units. The character may do something that looks a bit like a squashed mouse. I haven't quite worked out what that symbol is. So that's kind of it for abilities. You've got a number of abilities, and they are either active, reactive, or innate, and then those innate ones are broken down into tactics and identities. Only the primary units have identities, but the sort of everybody else will have some tactics. So they showed you Bo-Katan. She's got the Pride of Mandalore that I was just talking about. At the start of this unit's activation, choose another allied Mandalorian character. That chosen character may, I assume, that is do an extra move. So that's really handy. You're going to be trying to swarm those objectives, and there's all these little synergies in between in between models on the table, and hopefully, that's where your tactics and things are going to come in. I quite like that. That's pretty cool. You've got limited actions and limited opportunities to activate fighters with the card drawing mechanic. So anything that gives you extra kind of, even if it's just like basically extra move, it's going to be really quite strong, particularly if you're trying to jump on objectives or whatever. So I think all those synergies, how you tie those things together, is going to be really important, especially if you can get ones that kind of move back. So like Bo-Katan moves. That moves a Mandalorian unit, and then maybe you can activate a different Mandalorian unit, and maybe that will have something that enables Bo-Katan to move, and you kind of keep going, keep moving across that board. The next thing they revealed in the transmission was some of the combat rules. Not very much is going to. The next transmission is going to reveal that in greater depth. This was the first time I looked at it and thought, oh, that looks a little bit complicated. As many of you know who watch me regularly, I'm not a very competitive gamer. I like my games to be simple. I'm a simple man, as my wife says. And as I've got older, I found I just want fairly simple mechanics. I just want to kind of know what I need to roll the dice, and that happens. I don't know whether that's a product of age or product of time or what or both, but that's just the way I'm built. I even found games which I know people consider Marvel Crisis Protocol fairly simple, but I did find all the different tokens and the different options and the different things, after a while, makes my brain hurt. That's probably more of a fault of me and not something that you guys would necessarily worry about, but I want this to be as simple as possible. And so AMG talked about how they want this combat to be dynamic and like the movies, and then they showed these tree diagrams of how combat might work. I'm hoping they're simple. My first thought was, oh my god, they look really, really complicated. I'm a little bit of a kind of less is more person on my mechanics. I don't really hold that more complexity makes for a better game. I'll reserve judgment until further data is available, but sometimes I feel that when you're talking combat systems or into game systems in general, the simplicity is better, so less sometimes is more when it comes to games. We are apparently going to be given a wide range of options and tactical choices when resolving combat. This is great if it's simple. I just hope it doesn't become overburdened and complex, and I hope it doesn't become the person who wins is the person who's best at crunching those decisions. Obviously, you've got to have some decisions. I know that, but I don't like it when I feel like, and it's different in games like 40k and AOS, but sometimes I feel like the person who wins is the person who's done his homework up front, and I who's managed to work out all the best combos and synergies and what have you. I don't really like that, but then I don't play competitively, so perhaps it doesn't matter that I don't like that. What I really want to enjoy is a nice simple combat system, and maybe you can make it as complicated or as simple as you like when you're playing. I actually have to say, when my first thought looking at these cards, I blanched a little bit. I've now looking at it a little bit more depth, or a little bit more closely. I feel like it's probably going to be okay. You can look at these trees; they don't look too complicated. I don't know how they work, and we'll find out more on the next transmission. So there's no point going into huge detail, but I kind of assume maybe you start at the orange block over there, and they mean whatever they mean, those symbols, and you move down one, and the next time you can do different things. At the bottom of those cards, you can see it says twin lightsabers and duelist training on Ventress's and double-bladed lightsaber and Juyo on Maul. I think they are attacking and defending, and I think those things are the number of the dice. So if you roll 1 to 3, you do 2 damage or something, or 5 plus you do 3. As you can see on the 4 plus for the defending, you've got like 2 defenses and then maybe a move afterwards. So that's for Ventress. I'm assuming the things on the right, you've got like a gun and lightsabers. They've got 7 and a 5. I don't know what those numbers mean. I assume the dash under the guns for Ventress and Maul means that they don't have any kind of ranged weapon. They literally just have their lightsabers. So the cards are quite busy, and they're also double-sided because you can choose the tactical choice and personalisation. Again, a little bit worried about that. I guess it's maybe, I don't know how often you can flip between the cards. I'm sure it'll be fine. I just blanch a little bit sometimes when I see additional complexity in things. But like I say, that's just me. The only other thing that I worry about, I suppose, is tabletop real estate. You can't see it here, but the Agents of Sigmar table is quite small. It literally is 3 by 3. I've got a little bit of space here. Sometimes we have a little fold-out table here. But I sometimes find with some guys, you've got all these cards and then you've got tokens. And don't forget, we're also going to have the struggle token. That will probably be here on the table. You've got cards and tokens, and now we've got stance cards. And so you're going to have 6 fighters each. Stance cards, double-sided stance cards. I don't know how many tokens to denote things. It starts to take up quite a lot of room on the table. And that, again, makes my head hurt. Maybe it's just because I'm old. But that's just, so I'm a little bit worried about what I call tabletop real estate, and we'll just have to see how that goes. I'm still optimistic. I still actually, the more I look at these stance cards, the more cool I think they are. I mean, sort of 15-year-old me would have just thought these were absolutely brilliant. 50-year-old me is kind of like, oh, but my aging brain, I haven't got time for that. But we'll see. Hopefully it's going to be great. I'm not going to pontificate too much more about how combat works at the moment because we're going to get a whole new transmission in less than a week. Probably a week by the time I actually get a video out about it. So still excited, still loving I love the charts. I'm interested in the force powers. They look quite interesting. I'm kind of intrigued by the force powers because we're only going to have sort of, I think Anakin had like 4 force points or something. That's not a lot of jumping about and ending this that he's going to be doing if he can only use 7 powers, and that's across your two primary units, especially if you're going to be using them to put down reserve cards. They're a very scarce supply. I did say in the last video that I thought they would, the whole thing would be for the whole game and not individual struggles, because they mentioned that the board state stays the same between struggles. I'm now wondering whether you might get a little boost in between struggles for new force points. Who knows? I guess that's something we'll find out in future transmissions. It isn't that long now to Adepticon, and people actually get to play for this in anger, which is quite cool. Looking forward to seeing what the fallout from that is. So I did promise you I'd give you the punchline to the joke, and if you remember, the joke was, why didn't Princess Leia email Obi-Wan the plans for the Death Star? Because the Jedi Code does not allow for attachments. I think that joke is brilliant. I've told it about 1 billion times trying to get it right on here, so I'm devoid of mirth now, but I think that's a great joke. I've got to thank somebody called Chris Hillman on Twitter for that. His joke was slightly different. I've just rearranged it for a question-answer joke, but it's a great joke. It's the best Star Wars joke I've seen in some time. I hope you thought that was hilarious. If you did, comment below with your best Star Wars jokes, or tell me. I'll try and find some more and put them in future videos. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. Give us a like and subscribe if you're on for some Shatterpoint content. I did hear a couple of people are coming back to us from Underworlds to see Shatterpoint, so that's really exciting. I'm hoping these new stance cards and things haven't frightened off Pete, who's still very much on the fence about Shatterpoint, and I'm going to hope to coax him down. We'll have to see. But until next time on the Agents of Sigmar, we'll see you soon. Bye!